7 years had passed when the prince was tricked into opening the hourglass of time, unleashing the sands of time upon the world. He paid the ultimate price, losing his father and his lover, Farah, in the process of trying to recapture the sands in the hourglass. Though he was able to undo what he had done, he was supposed to die as a result. Because he survived his ordeal, he was hunted by the Dahaka, a creature created by the gods that guarded the order of the timeline. In the prince's efforts to trap the Dahaka, his mentor, Darius, and his mother, Mary, were killed. 7 years into his conflict with the Dahaka, the prince seeks counsel from an old wise man. The prince learns of the existence of the island, but its location is nearly impossible to find. Thinking only of his survival, the prince sets sail for the island to prevent the sands of time from ever being created, under the belief that the Dahaka will have no reason to hunt him if he does so. During the journey, his ship is intercepted and destroyed by Shadi, a servant of the Empress of Time. Accompanied by a pack of raiders, the prince's men are killed and he is summarily defeated by Shadi. Lost in a shipwreck, he finds himself alone on the island. He picks a wooden stick from the wreckage of a boat to defend himself against some crows. He swears to kill Shadi for what she has done to him and his crew. The prince eventually finds his way to the Fortress of Time. Shadi tries to kill the prince, but the prince repels her by knocking her to the ground. After a fight with several opponents, he obtains the spider sword and begins chasing Shadi through the island until they reach a time portal. She goes through a time portal, and the prince follows her into the past. Continuing his pursuit, he finds Shadi trying to murder a woman in red. The prince engages Shadi once more in battle and kills her. The woman introduces herself as Kylina, another servant of the Empress of Time. Denied an audience with the Empress of Time to state his case, the prince is then faced with the task of activating 2 towers that will open the doors to the Empress throne room. Kylina aids the prince by presenting to him the serpent sword, which will activate the bridges to reach both towers. He eventually obtains the lion sword, an even more powerful weapon than the previous. As the prince explores the island, he occasionally encounters a mysterious creature known as the Sand Wraith. Additionally, he is pursued by the Dahaka, who has followed him to the Island of Time. Shortly before reaching the throne room, the Dahaka attacks the prince and almost kills him, but the Sand Wraith is killed in his place. The Dahaka then leaves without attacking the prince, much to his confusion. The prince eventually succeeds in reaching the throne room only to discover that Kylina is the Empress of Time. She had sent Shadi to kill the prince, and on the perilous journey to the towers, and even cursed the lion sword. Yet, the prince did not die. Kylina has seen her fate, which is to die at the hands of the prince. Accepting this, her only concern is to get rid of him at any cost. Shadi, who was helping Kylina save herself, believed her mission foolish. She had turned against Kylina only to be killed by the prince at the last second. The prince eventually succeeds in reaching the throne room only to discover that Kylina is the Empress of Time. She had sent Shadi to kill the prince, and on the perilous journey to the towers, and even cursed the lion sword. Yet, the prince did not die. Kylina has seen her fate, which is to die at the hands of the prince. Accepting this, her only concern is to get rid of him at any cost. Shadi, who was helping Kylina save herself, believed her mission foolish. She had turned against Kylina only to be killed by the prince at the last second. The prince reluctantly fought and killed Kylina. Returning to the present, he hoped that he had escaped his fate. However, he soon discovers that when he killed Kylina, the sands of time were created from her death. Realizing that he caused the event he intended to prevent, the prince begins to lose hope but soon discovers the mask of the Wraith, an instrument of time that was used by Farah's father, the Maharaja, who had visited the island and taken the artifacts of Time Fortress of Time. When he puts on the mask, he transforms into the Sand Wraith, the dark creature he previously encountered on his journey. As the Wraith, the prince is able to coexist in a single time with his past self, explaining his past encounters with the Sand Wraith. When he reaches the point the Wraith saves the prince from the Dahaka, he instead lets the Dahaka kill his previous self, the mask of the Wraith is then able to be removed. He then returned to the position he was in just before he entered the throne room. The prince decides that he may not be able to avoid killing Kylina, but if he kills her in the present rather than the past, the sands will not be created. The prince confronts Kylina again and forces her through a time portal into the present. At this point, the ending forks, depending on whether or not the player has found all of the life upgrades and acquired the water sword. The ending where the prince wields the water sword is the canonical ending, as it extensively affects the story of Prince of Persia, The Two Thrones. The ending where he does not have the water sword is non-canon. The Dahaka appears and heads for Kylina. However, the prince discovers that the Dahaka has a weakness to his water sword. The prince fights the Dahaka and manages to defeat it. Having both escaped their fates, the prince and Kylina set sail for Babylon together. In the ending scene of the boat heading off towards Babylon, the prince ends up sleeping with Kylina and beginning a sexual relationship together. While in Kylina's embrace, the prince sees a vision of Babylon under attack and Farah taken as a prisoner by an unknown enemy. I'd find this tale of the prince's struggle against fate intriguing yet ultimately tragic. His journey, much like mine, is marked by sacrifice, loss, and the relentless pursuit of justice. The prince's determination to alter destiny, even at the cost of his own soul, resonates with the burden I bear as Gotham's Dark Knight. His battle against the Dahaka mirrors my own perpetual conflict with the forces of darkness that threaten to consume both our worlds. The prince's decision to confront Kylina, knowing the consequences, showcases a grim resolve reminiscent of my own choices in the face of impossible odds. However, his eventual alliance with Kylina, despite their shared past and the complexities of their relationship, raises questions. As Batman, I understand the complexity of forging alliances with those who have walked dark paths, yet I cannot help but wonder about the implications of his choice. The vision of Babylon under attack and Farah's capture serves as a haunting reminder of the unfinished battles that await, much like the looming threats that perpetually haunt Gotham City. It's a stark reminder that even in moments of fleeting peace, danger lurks on the horizon, ready to shatter any semblance of tranquility. Overall, the prince's tale is a cautionary one, highlighting the dangers of tampering with the fabric of time and the consequences of our choices. As Batman, I would acknowledge the prince's struggle, commend his resilience, but caution against the perils of altering fate without fully understanding the ramifications. If you like the story and the narrative, subscribe to the channel